And all of a sudden, they expect top 5 defense. And if you're the first month and you're 2-2 and you're in the 20s from a defensive perspective because you're still getting to learn each other because you don't have any off-season work, I could see that happening, Jody, where this defense starts slowly and then starts to get better and better and better and gets, ramped up to speed in the second half of the season. But I could see a slow start, especially defensively.
And welcome in, Birds fans. A Thursday get together here on the JAKIB YouTube channel with your boys, Mac and Mac. And do me a favor, the 15 of you that have already logged in, 18 of you, the number just goes up. Thank you very much for being here right at the start of the show, which was pretty much on time. I'm going to ask you a favor right off the bat. If you are one of the 18 loyal right there at the top of the show, and during the course of the show, we get up over 200, somewhere thereabouts. We've had 300 and 400 at specific times during the show, but the general average is around 200. So right now it says we got 18 streamed in. Of those of you 18, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Just go ahead and hit it right now. Get it over and done with so you don't have to worry about it during the show. Hit it right now. Say you like the Birds 365 show at Mac and Mac, and I guarantee you're going to hit it again later because we've got a good one planned for you. Two good guests. We'll give you details on that coming up in just a second. Did you all hit the like button? Guys, one more time, hit the like button. Good job. All right, thanks. I
thought you were going to ask something else, Jody.
Oh, I am. It's tied to two things.
All right.
Why I'm doing so is because I'm going to guess the Bird loyalists, and we have plenty of them, and well, we should because this is Birds 365. Some people look at the Birds through Birds-colored glasses. Jaquiski Tartt's going to be a Pro Bowl safety this year. You know what I'm getting at. My first question of the day is going to come off something that popped up yesterday on the show. I don't even remember which of the two good guests we had actually made me think of it, but I jotted it down as a note, and I wasn't going to slam dunk it into the end of the show yesterday because we actually ran late. We went over. We might have been a minute late starting the show, but we went 5 minutes late on the back end. So you got more than your 2 hours of Mac and Mac on Birds 365. We always balance the scales for you. But I wasn't going to put this at the back end of the show. I'm trying as best I can to remember who actually made me think of it, but I won't put it on them. I'll take all the credit and or blame for it myself. Somebody... God, what was it about? Referencing potential pitfalls and stuff that could go wrong for the Eagles this upcoming year. Which, oh, by the way, both John and I are on record as of right now. Double-digit wins for the Eagles. We both think they're going to win 10 or 11 games. So neither one of us is pessimistic by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're doing 2 hours of Eagle talk every day, even when they're not playing, they're all scattered to the hinterlands before camp opens up. You take all things into consideration. JM, I'm going to ask you to go a little negative here. And this, again, a hypothetical situation. I'm not predicting it. I'm not projecting it. I'm sticking with my Eagles will win double-digit games this year. But what if, on the other hand, things don't go well? For whatever reasons, varying reasons, could be massive injuries. Even that, if the Eagles get massive injuries, we're going to say they're on Birds 365. Wait, how much work did they put in the preseason? They got injuries everywhere. So there can be any number of reasons why the Eagles season could go off the tracks. If it does, how bad would it have to be for Nick Sirianni and or Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator that's so good the Eagles aren't really keeping him, they're just renting him because it's only a matter of time before he gets a head coaching job elsewhere, according to Howie Roseman. How bad would it have to go for those two guys to actually be on a hot seat? For us here on Birds 365 and WIP and all the great beat writers have to start writing columns about there could be a change in the offing as far as coaching goes for the Philadelphia Eagles. How bad would it have to go for that to be the case? Because both Sirianni and Gannon are second-year coaches, had very good first years, better than expectations. So they're in very good stead as of right now. How bad would it have to go in the other direction for us to question that?
It's interesting. I got odds of the first coach to be fired this week.
Oh, that's great. Can I take a guess?
Well, the first one's pretty easy. I think you'll get, but go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. Did they list all 32?
Yes.
Where on the list would Sirianni be?
I have to pull it up. But
don't tell me what it is. Just tell me that you got it.
Of course, I deleted the email, so I'll try to go through my trash and figure out where it is. But yeah, I'm trying to think of where he ended up. But I'll wait because you want to.
My guess would be he's got to be in the 20s. He can't be in the top 10, and I don't think he'd even be 10 through 20. I would think, and he's only a second-year coach, so it's not like Andy Reid, who's built up Bill Belichick. Belichick's not getting fired from New England. If he leaves New England, he'll be making that decision himself. But I'll bet you Sirianni is in the 20s. If you wanted me to give you an exact number, I would say 23, 24, 25.
He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14th.
Wow. 14th. So he's in the top half.
Yeah, 14th. But, most of the guys obviously are the rookie head coaches are very high. 66-1 basically is the defaults for the Eberflus's, the O'Connells, the McDaniels, the Hackett's. So when you start talking about Nick is 25-1, by the way. Right behind him is Kyle Shanahan at 33-1.
Oh, I would have had him in 22.
Yeah. Bill Belichick is 50-1. 50-1. Think about that. Lovie Smith is 50-1. Todd Bowles and their first-year coaches, but they're not rookies, are 50-1. So they're probably more likely to be fired.
I disagree with those odds right there.
Yeah.
Do you think Nick Sirianni is more likely to get fired than Todd Bowles?
No, I don't. No,
How do you make Nick Sirianni less odds than that?
Yeah, I don't. These odds I complain about them all the time. They're not like, why is Bill Belichick 50-1 where Andy Reid is 100-1? Josh McDaniels is 100-1 for some reason. Sean McDermott and Sean McVay are the top at 100-1, sort of the least likeliest to be fired. Matt LaFleur's at 80-1. Again, Belichick's at 50-1. I don't, but maybe it's because the odds are first coach to be fired or resign. Maybe that changes it. Guys could walk away on their own accord. Maybe they think that way.
Right, that's what I said about Belichick. Belichick's not getting fired. If Belichick just one day decides, this isn't fun anymore, he could walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference between those two things for me. If I were putting out odds, I would put out a list of those who are being fired, and then I would have a different list, those who are fired or walked away.
Yeah, and they combined them. Next NFL coach to be fired, resigned, and Nick's at 25-1, which I think is, in fact, I tweeted this out when I got it, and I said, if you want to waste some money, Nick Sirianni's 25-1 because he's not getting fired. He's certainly not resigning. But as far as the hot seat goes, I mean, underachieving, it happens really quick. I mean, there were people calling for Nick Sirianni to be fired last year, 2-5 as a rookie head coach. There were some high-profile people in this city who said he should be fired. He's not ready for this job.
Will he be a one and done? Yeah, I remember those.
Obviously they were incorrect. But in the moment, people get emotional and don't understand the ebbs and flows of this thing. But as far as, with Gannon, it could happen really quickly, because for whatever reason, even though he's a very likable guy and everybody likes him sort of, and that's why he gets head coaching interviews and, to the fan base, they just don't like the way he plays defense. They just don't like it. So then you tell him all off season, well, Jordan Davis is this, and Hassan Reddick is that, and James Bradbury's a big time corner, and Jaquiski Tart is the top coverage safety in the history of the National Football League, and Nakobe Dean is the most instinctive linebacker since Dick Butkus, and all of a sudden they expect top 5 defense. And if you're the first month and you're 2-2 and you're in the 20s from a defensive perspective because you're still getting to learn each other because you don't have any off-season work, you know, I could see that happening, Jody, where this defense starts slowly and then starts to get better and better and better and gets, you know, ramped up to speed in the second half of the season. But I could see a slow start, especially defensively. And I think that would ratchet things up pretty quickly on Jonathan Gannon, because I think not all, but I think a lot of the fan base has been, why is this guy getting head coaching interviews? Why is he so close to getting a head coaching job? And now that he's got all the talent, why isn't this a top 10 defense? So I think from his perspective, it'll happen more quickly. But if the whole team starts to underachieve, yeah, head coach, man. Right now, nobody even talks. In fact, I said it yesterday on the show. Nobody even talks about Sirianni. They talk about Gadden. They talk about Jalen Hurts. Those are the guys with the pressure on them. Everybody's like, Nick's fine. Nick's good. Nick's good. Well, guess what? If they're underachieving, Nick's not going to be fine for long.
Interesting your look at Gannon. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but the only thing I would factor in as to why he would be on the same plane with Sirianni of hot seat. And yeah, if the Eagles are losing games 42-35 and Hurts is playing great and the Eagles are giving up 6 touchdowns a week, yeah, that could change it drastically, but that's very unlikely. You're the one who's been telling me, you know better than I do, that the quote unquote Eagles, that meaning Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman, loved Jonathan Gannon, that they were planning on hiring Jonathan Gannon no matter who they hired as their head coach, that this was a guy that they ticketed as a defensive coordinator, potential star in the making. And that certainly Sirianni was good with the hiring when he came together. They brought to him, listen, we think this guy could be a great DC for you. Okay, fine, signed on right away. But it was more organizational driven than it was Sirianni telling them, here's a guy I really like as the defensive coordinator. Do you think the powers that be would swing that quickly if they were just feeling pressure from the fan base that, hey, this DC doesn't bring what we want, which is pressure, sacks? Do you think that Roseman and Lurie would react to the fan?
No, not. In other words, I think it would be more public sentiment driven. I don't think the Eagles are going to fire Jonathan Gannon, in season or anything of that nature. If they have a bad year as a whole, yeah, it'll start to change in the offseason. They'll start thinking about things. This organization has shown that when things don't go as they want, they scapegoat people. That's one thing I've said. Jeffrey Lurie, as he's gotten older, started to scapegoat people. And whether it was Mike Rowe or Carson Walsh.
And coaches are at the top of that list all
Russ
the
Taylor,
time.
Yeah. Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl. We don't have to go that far. They start to scapegoat people. Yeah, so it can change quickly. But no, they're not going to fire him in season. And yeah, when it looked like Josh McDaniels was going to get the Eagles job, and by the way, I think Jeffrey Lurie made the correct decision there, because I don't think long-term he and Howie Roseman would have coexisted. I think that would have been fun for me, but I think that would have blown up pretty quickly. Josh McDaniels was bringing in Jonathan Gannon to be the defensive coordinator. They're very close. Sort of that John Carroll pipeline, that weird John Carroll pipeline to the NFL, which Jonathan technically has nothing to do with other than he's a Cleveland guy as well. But back in the day, he got Brandon Staley the job. He's good friends with the former head coach there, and he got Staley the job to be defensive coordinator at JCU, and McDaniels went there, and just like a weird sort of Illuminati thing going on at John Carroll University. If you go there, you got a real good in for the NFL, or if you know people who have been in that program, which again it's not Alabama. It's not, so it's kind of weird. But nonetheless, he was going to be the defensive coordinator if they hired Josh McDaniels. Those two are very, very close over the years. And when Nick Sirianni, they shifted towards Nick Sirianni, and Jeffrey Lurie, as I said, correctly said, you know what, Howie's rubber stamping Josh McDaniels, but he's thinking what I'm thinking. They might be fine today. They might be saying all the right things, but those are two big time egos, and those are going to clash at some point. And he kept interviewing people. And this is just my spin on it. He was going to keep interviewing people until he found somebody he liked more than Josh McDaniels. And he got that with Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni just happened to be working with Jonathan Gannon. So everyone said, well, that makes sense. They didn't go into it as much. And he does like him as a coach. But the Eagles were intent on hiring Jonathan Gannon as the defense coordinator before they tabbed Nick Sirianni. But Nick had no issues with it whatsoever,
right,
because he's close to him as well.
That's why I asked the question the way I asked it. I don't see them separated. I think they're kind of tied at the hip, even though it was the Eagles who tied them at the hip, it would have to go real bad across the board for both of them to get fired. I don't think one would get fired and the other would be kept. I think it'd either be a clean sweep or they're both staying right here. Oh, by the way, let us get this straight again. Neither John McMullen or Jody McDonald think this is going to happen. I'm just asking a hypothetical question.
Let me make this clear, Jody, because we always get in trouble. I'm glad you said that. When I got these odds, I said, if you want to waste a lot of money, Nick Sirianni is 25. Yes, he's not getting fired. End of sentence, period. 25-1 is ludicrously low. I think he's more likely to resign for some weird reason than he is to get fired.
All right. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Something in yesterday's show got me to formulate that question. I don't know why. Shame on me. I can't remember 24 hours later, but I wrote it down.
It's because I asked Gil the pressure. Who's under more pressure, Gannon, Hurts, or Sirianni? Because nobody talks about Sirianni.
Okay. Maybe that was it. Because Sirianni never is even a thought in that process as to who's under pressure. Well, there's no pressure on Sirianni. 1-6 with the early schedule that this team has. Oh, the pressure could get ratcheted up early. Now,
1-6 with that schedule, that is going to really ratchet it up.
Yeah. By the way, neither John nor I think the Eagles are starting 1-6. Don't misquote us.
No.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to have one of our favorites on. We've got a good show planned for you today. Later in the show, we're going to have Chris Landry from Landry Football, former NFL scout, former NFL coach, one of the best talent evaluators around. We haven't had Chris on since the draft. He got busy. He was working for NFL teams on a contingency basis. So his schedule's kind of finally cleared up, and we're going to get Chris on in hour number 2. But hour number 1, Hall of Fame voter, our very own here at JAKIB Sports and JAKIBSports.com, Paul Domowitch joins us next here on Birds 365.